30 seconds.
Can I do that? We don't have to be on the mic. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the National Press Club. I'm Bill McCarran, Executive Director here. I'm so glad to see all of you here for Night Out for Austin TICE. We're going to have a brief program, and so we appreciate your attention on this. This is Night Out for Austin TICE. It's May the 2nd. Date was chosen specifically to be the evening prior to World Press Freedom Day. World Press Freedom Day is tomorrow, the 3rd. World Press Freedom Day started in Windhoek, which is part of now Namibia, and it's been going on every year since then. I have a friend who is from Namibia, and when he says hello to me, he says, "Sawau bona." That's hello. So let's all try that. Sawau bona. Right. And Sawau bona means hello, but it also means more than that. It means I see you, I recognize you, I value you, I respect you. It means I see where you've come from and I see where you're going. So this would be a greeting from people in Namibia that are walking a path, say along the coast in Namibia where there's hills and you can see the person coming from a long way away. And when they get to you, you say to them, "Swabona." So tonight, Swabona to the diners who have filled the room to celebrate Night Out for Austin TICE. I see you. I respect you. I value you. I see where you've come from. I see where you're going. Swabona also to the kitchen staff who has prepared this wonderful meal tonight. We see them, respect them, and value them. And to the wait staff and all the others who have made the evening wonderful. Swabona also to the president of the National Press Club, Allison Kojak. We see Allison. We value Allison and how she's led this project and how she's helped us put together an amazing array of restaurants around the country. She's going to tell you more about it, but I'm telling you that nothing happens at the National Press Club without the support and the leadership and the initiative of the president. It's been great to work with Allison on this. So, Allison Kojak.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you, everybody, for being here. I am putting this here for a reason. So this has been a long time in the making, especially if you're one of us who's been working on it. And so I'm just thrilled to say, tonight, we have finally arrived at Night Out for Austin TICE. So I'm going to take a moment with everyone to raise a glass to Austin. We are here tonight to recognize Austin TICE. He's a 7th-generation Texan. We're here to congratulate him as an Eagle Scout and honor him as a proud graduate of Georgetown University. We salute him as a Marine captain. But most of all, tonight here at the National Press Club, we celebrate Austin as a fellow journalist. So ladies and gentlemen, to Austin TICE. Cheers. Now, if you're here, or if you're watching me from afar, you probably know something about Austin's story, but I'm going to tell you anyway. He was in Syria in 2012, fearlessly covering the civil war there as a freelance journalist, working for some of the most prominent and well-respected news organizations in the United States, when he was taken in August. There's been no demand for ransom and very little information since then. We believe he is being held by the government of Syria. Now, after a lot of silence, last year, the FBI offered a reward for $1 million for information leading to Austin's safe return. That meant something. That suggested they had information. So we, Bill McCarran, the leaders of the press club, met with the TICE family and then with the FBI, and we designed a plan to raise more reward money, but also to call attention to Austin's story. It was an ambitious, in some ways outrageous idea that we could use restaurants like this one to impact events 6,000 miles away. But tonight, that is exactly what's happening. Before this night is over, at least 78 restaurants, I think we might have reached 79 today, in 13 states and the district will have seen hundreds and hundreds of employees come to work, cook, serve, and clean up for meals for thousands of Americans. We think the project will generate $1 million in economic activity today and net at least $100,000 for the reward fund for information leading to Austin's return. In this way, I think it's been a tremendous success. But I want to highlight other ways it's been successful. At our first news conference in November, U.S. Special Envoy for Hostage Affairs Robert O'Brien spoke, and he took questions from the press. And it was the first time he had spoken publicly about Austin's case, and he said, and I quote, "We have every reason to believe that Austin is alive." Those words were the headline of the day because our government had never made such a sweeping declarative statement about Austin's condition. The Washington Post, McClatchy newspapers, the Houston Chronicle, all gave our campaign money about $100,000 worth of free advertising in their papers and online. Hundreds of thousands of people saw those ads, and they learned about Austin, perhaps for the first time. Newspapers and TV stations across the country have been reporting about this night, including a wonderful story by Jason Rezaian, himself a former prisoner, who wrote movingly about Austin's case and the project in the Washington Post. And I checked this afternoon, and here are some other examples where stories about Austin are appearing. KIRO in Seattle, KHOU in Houston, The Reporter News in Abilene, Texas, The Hollywood Reporter, and The Olympian in Washington State. And I just want to take a moment to talk about the people and organizations who've supported us. There have been so many. The Eagle Scouts, Austin was an Eagle Scout, and the Boy Scouts reached out to thousands of their members in the DC area and across the country. We have a company all the way from Morocco, the Merida Group. It owns a few restaurants and other things, and today they pledged $8,500 to us. And I'll take a moment to mention our other supporters. We've been working with Reporters Without Borders, Georgetown University, Women Chefs and Restaurateurs, the Committee to Protect Journalists, the Reporters Committee for the Freedom of the Press, the James W. Foley Legacy Foundation, the National Eagle Scout Association, the Newseum and Freedom Forum, and News Media Alliance. So we want to thank all of those organizations for helping us out here tonight. And for our members here, I just want to mention that the Press Club, throughout this whole campaign, has been a leader in the journalism community, the press freedom community, the restaurant community, and the business community. And so if you're here and you're a member of our club, or you're watching from afar and you're a member, you should be proud of what we've all done together. I especially want to recognize our executive director, Bill McCarran. He's the one who dreamt up this crazy idea and has been relentless in making it a success. And I want to take a moment to salute Austin's wonderful family. Mark and Deborah Tice have been working for 7 long years to bring their son home. And of course, that means they worked with us on this project too. Through the process, we at the Press Club and the Tices have become lifelong friends, and we're not going away. Tomorrow, we'll continue to look for ways to help. So we're going to recognize some of the restaurants throughout the project. We've been hearing from all kinds of restaurants across the country. They've got personalities, they've got twists, and so Bill and I are going to point out, we got the map up, a little bit about some of them. So Bill, you take it.
I think I can see those. So let's go to, it looks like Houston, right? So this is a map that Lindsay put together of all of the places that are on board in Houston. And as Allison said, I think we added one just yesterday. And Houston is a huge city, and they're spread out around the city. Beyond the mic. Okay, they're spread out around the city, and the TICEs are going to many of these today. They started early, and they are visiting a set of restaurants that are run by a guy named Chris Shepard, who's a James Beard Award winner there. They interviewed, I don't think we can say who did it, but they interviewed with a very famous, you will know, broadcast person from that restaurant today. And there'll be a story probably on Friday on one of the television networks. I think I've now not broken any rules, okay? Yeah. And so there's other really quirky and interesting things in the restaurants around Houston. One called La Boheme. It is the almost all outdoors, so it's called a patio restaurant, right? And it bills itself as the most dog-friendly restaurant in Houston, which is, that's something. And I just want to say one other about a couple others, and then maybe Allison will say some more about Houston. There's a guy who runs something called Jason's Deli there, and his name is Isa Ahmad. And when Isa was working, he heard on the radio that the TICE is talking about night out for Austin, and Isa played with Austin in the street, kick the can and whatever games kids play in the streets now, stickball, I don't know, something. They played together as kids, and he said that he could not think of anything to do to help beyond prayer. And so what's interesting to me about this is Isa is probably praying in a mosque for Austin, right? But he said, I saw this project, and I immediately leapt into it. And so he got his deli to participate, and then other stores under the same brand around Houston to participate. And so it just really has empowered people in a way to go out and do things. And I know we're supposed to be talking about quirky restaurants, but I wanted to tell you that story about Isa because I thought it was really heartwarming and interesting. We got a brewery, okay, and this brewery, their deal is that if you buy a pint of lawnmower, which is their most famous beverage, yes, we get some dollars back to the project. So that's how they're doing it. That's called the St. Arnold. Do you want to jump in here on some other parts of the country, or? But the TICEs will be all over here. They plan to be going till about midnight and trying to stop at as many places as possible. And they may go to. Do we tell them about boutique? We have 79 restaurants, but one beauty parlor. The beauty parlor is boutique. They make the very high Texas hair, and okay. Anyway, so think of them as Houston. So anyway, they know they're not a restaurant, but they want to give 10% to this project. So now anybody that's going there to get their hair done before they go out for dinner tonight in Houston, that's adding to the project. So I wanted to mention boutique, boutique. Sorry.
Yeah. So when we've been looking at the restaurant that have been signing up, this place came through over the transom called Burgerim in Nebraska. And we were like, how did they hear about us? And actually, I don't know. I called them, but it was outside their business hours. But I looked them up, and it's actually a chain, although this one location is the one that signed up. And they're like a specialty burger joint. But then I looked further, and what was interesting to me about them is that the company's headquartered in Israel. I don't know who the owner of this particular franchise is, but we thank him for joining. Another restaurant is Frontier, which is more an establishment up in Portland, Maine. I have two very close friends. I have many close friends in Portland, strangely. I'm not from there. But two of them are involved in journalism. One is a former TV morning show host, and the other is a nonfiction writer and magazine writer. And after our inauguration here, when she heard me talking about Austin, they both came up and said, we want to know how we can get involved. And so they've organized a whole evening in Portland at this place called Frontier, which is an interesting restaurant, theater, art venue and community gathering place. So I'm really interested in hearing what's happening. We just heard that the host of Morning Edition from their local public radio station is showing up. So we hope they're having a good time up there in Maine.
Can you talk about Abilene? We have 3 barbecue restaurants in Abilene. Can you just read the name of the first one?
Lytle Land and Cattle Company.
That's going to be great, right? The Lytle Land, how can that not be great barbecue?
And then finally, just quickly, I don't mean to dwell on Texas, but I've been emailing with journalists down there, and when they saw that Luby's signed up, there was a like sort of the email equivalent of a squeal went up. Luby's is involved. There are 4 Luby's locations that have signed up. So we just want to thank the restaurants we've mentioned, all of the restaurants who are involved. I don't know if there's anyone else you want to call out specifically, Bill.
I don't think so, but Jimmy Changa's. Mark Tice says that Jimmy Changa's serves the national cuisine of Texas, as Tex-Mex food being the national. Of course, Texas would have a national cuisine. And then Guerrero's Taco Bar in Austin. I have actually been there. It's amazing. Should we move off of Houston, or are we going to, what's? Oh, okay. DC. So, yeah, we were thinking what a great run this is. I don't know if you all know the Pug. The Pug's deal is that for 2 hours tonight, it's like $20 and all the beer you can drink. So that's the Pug. You may want to go there. You may want to stay away. Martin's Tavern, you may know as the place that JFK proposed to Jackie. I think Allison had a professor at Georgetown. She's from Georgetown. She went to Georgetown. That got that in,
Yeah,
right?
he did.
Yeah. So I mean, we're using like every little friend or connection that we had to try to pull things together. Okay, some of these. Charlie Palmer Steak is a very impressive restaurant. A lot of lobbyists there and stuff like that. That'll be big. 1789, also a wonderful restaurant up by Georgetown. And the chef from 1789 came and spoke at one of our news conferences. So she was so into it. I mean, she wanted to come and tell her story. Many of these chefs are from a group called Women Chefs and Restaurateurs. They're owners, women owners of restaurants, and the creative, behind it, the chefs themselves. And they are responsible for really filling up our lists here in Minneapolis and in other places. So that has been a great partnership. Do you want to say something?
No, I think we can
We're
move on to the next.
Okay, what's the next? What's the next thing? Okay.
And that's the full list, I think, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of places.
I think we,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going to wrap up, I think.
I am. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I will join you in the toast. I think
Okay.
we're about there.
We need something to toast. Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. So as we wrap up our program here, I wanted all of us to take a moment now to think about Austin, because he is why we are doing this. We want him to be home with his family. We are eager for that to happen, and we think it will happen, and soon. We are raising the stakes with this effort, both on the Syrian government and on our own government. Soon they will be negotiating about a new Syria and what the map will look like. And the same Robert O'Brien, the person Allison was telling you about, the U.S. Special Envoy for Hostage Affairs, he was in the Middle East recently and gave an interview to an English language newspaper in UAE. And he said that if Syria were to release Austin now, then the U.S. might begin direct negotiations with Syria. This is a big deal because we do not have diplomatic relations, right? And why is that happening now? It's happening because you and you and you and you are paying attention and being part of this big project. And so more people are paying attention to Austin in our government. More people are paying attention to Austin globally. And this is why we're doing it. You are showing a strong commitment and interest in this case. That is what Night Out for Austin is all about. And we're gonna end the way we started. If you've been to a fancy military dinner, what they say is they should say ladies and gentlemen, but they often say gentlemen, charge your glasses. And that doesn't mean you run at your glass. Charge is like you load a gun or you load a cannon. So charge your glasses means, Kevin Wensing knows all about it, means you put some wine in your glass. So gentlemen, ladies, charge your glasses. We end the way we started. To Austin TICE. Thank you very much.